All right, man, peace. So DeMarcus Cousins, the mercurial former center of the New Orleans Pelicans, recently has signed a deal with the Golden State Warriors to be their incumbent superstar center once he heals from his Achilles injury. He's finally gotten a chance to sit down and give his side of what has transpired over the last 6 or 7 months or so that have changed his life, hopefully for him for the better. So, of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
You had an interesting summer.
To say the least.
There wasn't, there wasn't a lot of offers out there. You're coming off of the Achilles injury, and day 2, you signed. You agreed with the Warriors, and the NBA community went crazy. What was that experience like, just watching?
All that showed is how mentally whipped all these other teams around the NBA are in regards to how they view their chances of defeating the Warriors. But I like what Kevin Durant did with CJ McCollum, and I'll be covering that in another video, when he looked at CJ and basically told him, why are you upset for? You guys had no chance anyway. Really, the only team in the NBA, or the only teams in the NBA that should have been even moderately upset at Golden State acquiring DeMarcus Cousins were the Houston Rockets, maybe an outside chance to the LA Lakers because they have LeBron James, in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics, and probably the Toronto Raptors. Those are the only teams that should have been upset. CJ McCollum had no business being upset about anything that the Golden State Warriors have been doing. As of last season, they have yet to prove that they can defeat the New Orleans Pelicans. And if they were to rematch them in this year's playoffs, I would bet on the Pelicans to probably sweep them again.
I don't really care. Honestly.
It didn't trip you out at all just to see?
I mean, it trips me out to just see, like, it's crazy, like, how angry people
not just fans, though. Not just fans. Players.
And the interesting thing is that no one wanted him until the Golden State Warriors wanted him. Once again, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Players, too.
It's just kind of funny because before the whole thing started, I was kind of just, wasted. I was damaged goods, not a winner. Just everything negative. As soon as it happened, it's like, well, he's too damn good to be, so.
The only thing that I could tell DeMarcus is that if he's constantly hearing negative things about himself, maybe he has to tell himself that I'm emitting a certain energy that's being picked up on a certain wavelength. Sometimes the energy that you emit is going to be received by others in a certain way. He may not view himself as being negative, but if everyone is responding to him in a negative way, there may be an energy that he's emitting that he's not aware of. It's very clear that he was extremely immature when he first came into the league, and he still shows signs of immaturity. But hopefully he's starting to grow past that. And hopefully for him, his tenure with the Golden State Warriors, for however long it lasts, will not be tumultuous, and it'll be something that he can grow and learn from. Of course, they're going to be the prohibitive betting favorite to win the championship. So truly the only way that they won't win the championship is if multiple stars on their team get hurt and or there's a massive implosion in the locker room. And of course, everyone will blame him if that happens.
It's just kind of funny how the narrative switches right away when, things don't go the way they expect it to.
What's the biggest thing that bothers you about how people perceive you to be?
I mean, I've become numb to it. Like, I put it like this: you live your life to satisfy every person that critiques you, you'll drive yourself crazy. Like,
I agree with that, sir.
You will never satisfy everybody in what they feel you should do, especially being in this position. You'll never satisfy. I don't care.
Well, brother, hopefully you're being sincere when you claim that you don't care what people think about you. But sometimes it can be healthy to be receptive and perceptive to what the common sentiment is about you, because oftentimes perception is reality. So that's why I state that hopefully he'll use this time period with the Warriors to go through a transformative moment and become a better player, because at the end of the day, he was pretty much picked up off the garbage heap. And I think that it was extremely telling that there were no teams willing to even give him a chance. He has to look within himself and understand that. But once again, I agree with him. You can't live your life worried about what other people think about you. As long as you're keeping the laws of the land and the laws of the Most High. Of course, there are brothers out there who don't believe in the Most High. That's on you. But at the very least, adhere to the laws of the land, certain codes of propriety and respect for your fellow man. Everything should be okay. if the common consensus about you is that you're a disrespectful individual, maybe you have to examine yourself, examine your actions, and examine your interactions. Hopefully this brother has done that, is doing that, will do that before something terrible happens to him.
I don't care. Like, I don't care, because anything and everything that's been said and going on is harmless. Like, I walk around with my head high and I walk around comfortable. I'm good.
That's great, bro. And let me say this. What I stated about him examining himself, we all have to do that, starting with me and everyone else.
What they gonna do?
Welcome back to The Jump. I'm not Rachel Nichols. I'm Amino Hassan. I'm joined with David Benjamin, Young Masuk, and we just...
I know who you are, because the show is much better when you're the one hosting as opposed to that blathering idiot Rachel Nichols.
And we just heard Boogie right there with Chris Haynes. But do you really buy that he doesn't care what people think?
I don't buy it, sir. I think that he's taught himself to ignore a certain segment of people who act as his detractors, because he knows that if he was to listen to everything as he stated in the video, he would lose his mind. But I also think that, of course, he's a human being. He understands what the sentiment is. And he knows, or at least he should know by now, that if he does not correct himself to some degree or amend his behavior, his thought process, that it's going to cost him in the future.
I think he cares to a certain degree, not as much as some other superstars that could be a little sensitive. I think back in the day he probably cared quite a bit. Now I think it's become part of his persona, where I think he has this chip on his shoulder that the more hate comes his way, I think he really feeds off of that.
That only works when you're a winner.
I think he cares to a certain degree, but I do think he's kind of just over a lot of things.
Are you suggesting that people's tears are like PEDs for him?
Yes.
Making sure. I think he is unlike any human that I would know if he really doesn't care what people think. And it's one thing not caring what the people on the internet think.
Yeah.
And, we all try to develop a thick skin for that. But you care about your peers, right? You want the respect of your...
I believe that he has the respect of his peers in regard to his skills on a basketball court. The problem is that he has not shown that he has the personality type to become a good teammate. Wherever he's gone, there have been issues with many of his teammates. That's why I say that he needs to sit down and at the very least understand that perception can be considered reality. Self-awareness is essential. Not so much so that you can be received well by others, but so that you understand what your status is, because what your status is going to determine what your future is. And that's my whole point in regards to, hopefully he grasps that the reason why no other team wanted to sign him is because he's become an anathema across the NBA because of his conduct or his lack thereof. And Golden State is in the position where they have such a surplus of talent and they have so much experience in winning that they can take on these reclamation projects. They took on Nick Young, they took on JaVale McGee. And to be quite frank with you, I think that they believe that if they're able to redeem DeMarcus Cousins, that will be their greatest ever enterprise.
Industry. And so if players are kind of side-eyeing him, if agents, coaches, executives are side-eyeing, I think that would wear on him to some extent.
He clearly cares about that when he says, well, everybody thought I was wasted and I was done and I'm trash. You know what I mean? Like, he clearly cares from that standpoint and is using that as motivation to prove people wrong. I think that's what really Boogie feeds off of this, that he loves proving people wrong. He's heard so many negative things about him. I like him, actually. I like the fact that, especially like when he speaks what's on his mind. I do think at times he can be abrasive with the media, but when he trusts somebody, you see something like this with Chris Haynes, where he shows his personality, and I like that side of him, but I do think he feeds off of all this.
Man, all I gotta say is that when I watched that Showtime clip where he said, when it happened, I love watching everybody lose their minds. I laugh so hard because, like you said,
well, if you're the Warriors front office and the Golden State Warriors coaching staff, you also have to understand that someone who will make a statement like that shows traits of being an agent of chaos, which would be consistent with his conduct on many of his previous stops. When you go out of your way to state that you like to see people lose their minds, what are you truly saying? You're saying that you're someone who sees some type of gratification in chaos, in disorder, in disharmony, which once again is consistent with what he's done in his previous stops. So there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to have to learn how to fly right during his one season with the Golden State Warriors. And if he can't do that there, he'll most likely no longer be in the NBA unless he's ready to play for the minimum.
He's one of the few people, he'll tell you how he feels, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of why, like, no, you kind of do care, because I can tell, right? He's not really good at masking his emotion, but that's why we love him, right? And the Warriors already have the supervillains thing now.
No, they don't.
Him coming on, it just felt like...
If you want to see an historically great NBA team that had the supervillain thing down pat, look at the Bad Boy Pistons. They were supervillains. They had that whole thing down pat.
Like a big blow, especially coming on the heels of LeBron going to LA.
Right.
The excitement, the West is going to be different. And then
Air out of the balloon.
Yep.
Real quick.
This situation's going to be great for him because
Yeah.
it's like, usually when DeMarcus is on a certain team, you wonder, is he the loose cannon? Is he going to lose it? But they have Draymond Green, so that takes that kind of like thing off of DeMarcus.
That rapport is going to be essential for the Golden State Warriors. Will Draymond Green be able to communicate with Boogie Cousins on the same wavelength that he does a Kevin Durant? Because Kevin Durant and Draymond Green, they have a push and pull relationship where Kevin Durant respects what Draymond has to say. Will DeMarcus Cousins respect what Draymond has to say? Or will he just reject Draymond and look at Steve Kerr? Or will he eventually reject that whole framework? This is certainly going to be a referendum on DeMarcus Cousins. Hopefully he understands that, because if he doesn't, once again, I think that this will be his last major stop in the league.
It allows him to kind of be who he is. There's really no pressure on him.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how
No, so there's pressure on him. He's going to have to perform well, especially in the postseason. They're going to expect him to be a low post presence when they need it, to be a defensive presence when they need it.
how the Warriors use him. Do you think he'll be able to play his game then?
Well, I think at some point you would.
No, sir. And that runs directly contrary to what the Golden State Warriors team and their system has been all about. It's not about whether or not Boogie Cousins will be allowed to quote-unquote play his game. That's why Steve Kerr made the point of sitting down with Boogie Cousins in the summer league so that he can try to tap into his brain early on.
Point you will be, and we spoke about this the other day on the show. He might not have to play until March or something like that, right? And I think that'd be good for him. He can actually concentrate on rehab, and then at that point when he does play, last year in March, Steve Kerr was not getting through to these guys so much that he handed over the huddles to them to coach themselves. Now in March, they can be like, we want to integrate this guy and get him good over these final 20 games or so we feel like we have a rhythm headed into the playoffs. So I think he brings that to the team. They bring a lot to him because he has the first chance to make a deep playoff run. Will he be the same player in terms of getting those touches? I don't think so, but I think he can be extremely effective.
What is one of the things that could basically, derail the Warriors was just the fact that they've just kind of gotten bored at times with things?
That's not going to derail them. The only thing that's going to derail the Golden State Warriors is injury. That's it. I would love to see them go mano a mano with the Boston Celtics in the finals, both teams fully healthy. I think that series will go 7 games. In the 7th game, whoever has home court, we'll see what happens. I think that's the only team that truly has a chance to defeat the Golden State Warriors. The Toronto Raptors, even with Kawhi, are not going to have the manpower or the talent. The LA Lakers are going to be running the LeBron James system. I think that they're going to try to muck up the game, but it's not going to work. The Houston Rockets, we'll see. Supposedly they're trying to trade for J.R. Smith and sign Carmelo Anthony. I'm not sure if that's going to make them a better team than they were last year. To be quite honest with you, I think far too much was made of the point that they won 7 games with the Warriors, because had it not been for Iguodala, that's a 5-game series. So we'll see what happens.
But when he comes back, that's going to inject like a whole nother level of energy into them.
They want to see him do well.
Absolutely.
If you remember, was it 4 years ago, whenever they were in Team USA camp, and they were saying, he's the third splash brother.
That's right.
They were excited for him to be there. And we talk about his game. We don't talk enough about what a great passer he is. And
yes, he is a great passer.
To me, the Golden State Warriors are strongest when they have a big who can pass, right? Andrew Bogut, that's what made him so special. That you didn't have to guard him 20 feet from the basket because he could shoot. You had to guard him out there because his passing, whether it's dribble handoffs, whether it's his little backdoor cuts and stuff, Bogut can do all that stuff and more. He can go get his own. He can shoot 3.
He can pop.
I mean, so offensively, I think, not a question. Even if he's not the full version of himself, he still helps him tremendously because he's a big body and he's really skilled. Anyways.
But anyway, that's pretty much it on that. They've covered every aspect of the Boogie Cousins situation with Golden State, and I've thrown in my 2 cents. We'll see what happens. I don't think that this is going to be a major story for Golden State because they understand that they can just cut ties with him if he tries to act up. I think that this story is bigger from the Boogie Cousins perspective. Does he have enough self-awareness to toe the line? We're going to find out. So peace.